4%, which is what the state mandates. If everything's actual 24-25, then we're gonna be 6.82. You know, it's showing a decrease in your unrestricted fund balance, but it's not like all of a sudden it's gone the next year. You still have a year to make adjustments to make sure you don't get that thing to zero. So, in that way, it actually shows a trend that's can be tracked. And this is the data that we have to make decisions on, right, wrong, or indifferent. Meg's being asked to project on foundation aid that doesn't exist because the state budget's not adopted yet. We have to make a lot of assumptions there. You have to guess out 2 years what the foundation aid is going to be to get to those numbers. So we know that we've not used fund balance in the last few years, but this year we're looking to be at that 377,000 use of it. So that's not a trend you want to continue on. So we have to make the adjustments now to make sure that we get off that trend. And this just reinforces that in my mind. You know, you're taking it down to 6.2. We could take it down to 4 right now, and then that doesn't leave you any prep year to recover, you know what I mean, to make adjustments and have those type of things. So I like the methodology laid out for us, and I think it's been a lot of work this year. I think everybody's put a lot of extra time into it this year to make sure we understand it better. And like you said, take the amount of expenses down to actual as close as you can, and take the revenue to actual as close as you can, and to get to where we are right this second. So,
Mr. Dutcher, may I interrupt? I'm
Sure.
sorry, we had a problem with the sound.
Okay.
And we now have sound.
Do you know where we cut off on sound?
We didn't have sound.
At all? Okay.
Until now.
Okay. So just a quick recap of the meeting. We passed our DCMO administrative budget unanimously. We passed the DCMO board members selection, the 3 that were provided to us, unanimously. And now we are up to discussion items, and we are discussing our budget. And where we were just left off was a tax property report card, which reports our unrestricted fund balance, showing that the use is going from 6.8 approximate down to 4 within the next 2 years for that, thus driving the decisions we're making tonight. What we asked for with the special meeting tonight was to have Meg, we were hoping we had a state budget passed prior to this, so we had actual numbers on the foundation aid to be able to make sound decisions on. We don't have that currently. So we asked Meg to schedule this meeting in hopes that we would have that data. We do not. So we have to go on the assumptions that we have in front of us that were reported to us by Meg last month. So that's where we left off on.
Anybody else?
Meg, what foundation aid is assumed in the latest numbers?
The latest.
The percentage increase, yeah, what's the?
Just foundation aid?
Yeah, is it the January run, or is it was it reduced at all?
It was not reduced.
Okay. So what's the 3.5% roughly? Yeah.
Is your concern, Kevin, that depending on what's finally adopted, there's a potential that we wouldn't get that much? Is that where you're?
Yeah.
I guess there's a potential that it could go either way at this point.
Right.
We could get more, we could get less.
Right. Yep.
But I guess we need to, that's the best information we have at this point.
Yeah, there was an adjustment made, at least based on the February run, where there was a reduction in the inflationary cost factor, which would reduce our aid by about $20,000 from what I had calculated. So there's a potential that it could decrease slightly already.
Of course, that's prior to negotiation. We don't know what's happening
Yep.
with the budget negotiations. So.
Yep. These are just many of the unknowns that
Yep.
make this a very complicated discussion.
Complicated and
process.
Unfair process.
Yes.
Between this and the federal government.
And again, we're not gonna have closeouts of our actual books till August, so we don't have the good, solid numbers to make decisions on. They're all projections. Right now, you're projecting to use $370-some thousand of unrestricted fund balance to make last year's balance whole, budget whole, and then an additional use next year. So, we have a choice basically: is do you go out at the 3.5% to close that gap from our local tax base, or do you expend more of the fund balance and get it down to 4% quicker, and then have to deal with that in the next year's budget? That's really where we're at with the data we have, so.
I think with this situation with the state not knowing what they're gonna do and where we're gonna land, I don't think you can reduce that and jump into our fund balances any harder than you already are. Because if the state comes up short on us, we're gonna get into them harder than we anticipated already. I mean, and I'd rather personally prepare for that and then hope for the best, considering that all we're doing now is really hoping. I mean, it's another cry of the state, in my opinion, that we've got to have these numbers in place and we've got to make decisions and move forward, get the people that are controlling the purse strings. The accountability isn't there at the state level to give us the information we need to have. So that's nothing we're gonna do about that, though.
Agreed.
I mean, I just.
Anybody else have any other discussion on it? Guidance, because really the next time we see this, it's gonna be in resolution format on the 22nd. We have to adopt our budget on the 22nd, so now is the time to sort this out. And again, I don't know if we had voice going before, we were really hoping to have some data from the state runs and the state budget to be able to make sound decisions on tonight. Without that data, we're stuck with making decisions on whatever we've already calculated. So to close that gap of expenses and revenue, I think that 3.5% does exceed our tax cap. It's a big responsibility to do that, and I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We've asked Meg to look at this a lot of different ways, and she's providing us the best data that she has at this time. So I don't know what we could possibly ask for.
I think what we've done budget-wise is in line with the survey data that we've looked at. We did go out with our community surveys, and our community surveys, I think, support what we're doing here. We're not cutting anything back, which is one of the big pieces they wanted, is to make sure we're providing all the same support and the same opportunities for all of our students across the board, whether it's educational or extracurricular. I believe we've done that, and we're going to present a budget that accomplishes that. So that's what we use that data for when we're trying to make decisions for the survey. So I think the district's definitely safer and definitely going to offer the same opportunities for our students with this budget. So unless anybody wants to change that number for Meg, I think that's the guidance we're going to have to provide her. Anybody feel differently at all on that?
The 3.5%.
The 3.5.
Yeah.
It's the best number we can use. I mean, everything else, it's a hope and a prayer, so might as well go with the best outcome we can with what we got.
Okay, do we need that in a resolution format, or that was just discussion for us?
Just discussion.
Just
Okay.
discussion.
Any other discussion items? There's not.
I sent the narrative to email to you, Kevin, take a look at last year's narrative, you had looked at. So if you wanna give me some
By tomorrow.
feedback,
Okay.
so I can get that, and I got a copy of PJ right on that, cause he's developing it, and we're gonna go to print shop, Monday, I believe. So, if not, I can, I'll work off of that template and format, and we'll dress it up and go. So, let me know.
Okay. All right, that's all we have. I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?